Alright everybody, Sunday was a fun day here in the NFL in week 5. I got takeaways that I want to get to. Let's start with takeaway number 1. And it's that the Browns have just not looked clutch so far this year. They are not a clutch team. In all of their 3 losses, they have lost by 3 points or less. And this Chargers loss was just another example of them not being able to play complementary football in the final minutes of the game to pull out a win. They have not looked clutch at all. In this Chargers game, the defense got a stop on 4th down, gave the ball back to the offense. Jacoby Brissett and Amari Cooper and the Browns got into field goal range. But Cade York, who made a 58-yard field goal in North Carolina to beat the Panthers, decided to miss a 54-yard field goal versus the Chargers, and the Browns lost the game by 2 when they could have won by 1 if Cade York had just made the 54-yard field goal. And there's no excuse for him because he made a longer field goal to win the game. I don't get it with this team. In each of their 3 losses, they have lost by 3 points or less. In this Chargers game, they lost by 2 because of a missed field goal. In the Falcons game, they lost by 3 because Jacoby Brissett decided to throw an interception on the final play of the game. And then in that Jets game, which is one of the all-time blunders in crunch time in NFL history, the defense decided to give up 14 points in the final 2 minutes of the game to the New York Jets, who had no timeouts, and the special teams couldn't recover an onside kick. For some reason, when one part of this team does something right in crunch time, for some reason this Browns team just cannot play complete complementary football at the end of these games, and it's just bamboozling to me because one part of the team will do right, but no, the other part of the team will do wrong. They got to clean it up because good football teams play complete football, play complementary football from the first minute to the last minute. The Browns have been good the first minutes of these games, the first few quarters. In these last quarters, in these 3 losses, they have looked horrendous, people. So if they want a shot at making the playoffs when Deshaun Watson comes back, they need to be able to finish these games. Because if they can't, they're not making the playoffs, people. That's just the hard truth. And this is a Browns team that I think still has a chance at that. I picked them to make the playoffs before the season started, and I'm going to stick to that prediction. But they got to win in crunch time. And if they don't do that, they won't be getting anywhere. But now let's get to takeaway number 2 for week 5. And that is that Geno Smith looks like him, people. Geno Smith right now, and this may be a hot take to some, but I'm going to say it. Through these first 5 weeks of the season, Geno Smith has looked like, with his play, a top 10 quarterback. He's looked like a top 10 quarterback. I'm not saying he is. I'm not saying that at all. But with his play, he has certainly looked like it. He's looked like it. Incredible improvement from him so far through the first 5 weeks of this season. He leads the league in completion percentage. He had an incredible game versus the Saints, although his team lost and the defense couldn't hold up. Look, I am just really impressed with Geno Smith. The dude is making splash plays outside of the pocket. He's who we want Russell Wilson to look like right now in that way, in even more ways. He's targeting his playmakers. People were so worried about Tyler Lockett and DK Metcalf to begin the season, but Geno Smith is getting them the ball in the best ways. The 2 touchdowns he threw to Tyler Lockett were just very, very explosive plays where he had incredible pocket presence and he was just on the money with his deep balls. It was just incredible from Geno Smith. And then the touchdown to DK Metcalf, that was just incredible, getting outside the pocket and making plays. Even when he is in the pocket, he has great pocket awareness. His accuracy right now, throwing into tight windows, has looked good. He just looks so explosive. He's not afraid to take a shot, but he's always going to take the right shot. His vision looks good. He takes what the defense gives him. He's not doing too much. He's making good decisions. He's poised in the pocket. And look, right now, the Seahawks are currently winning that Russell Wilson trade, people. In this Saints game, he looked incredible. I wish his defense held up because if they won, this Geno Smith performance will look even better, people. Love what I saw from Geno Smith here in week 5 versus the Saints. He is absolutely him, and I hope he keeps it going. Now let's get to takeaway number 3. And that is that Justin Tucker is one of the NFL's most valuable players right now. He made an incredible kick earlier in that game versus Cincinnati, but he also won the Ravens the game. And it's just another example of how important kickers are, but just how important and how consistently clutch Justin Tucker is and how he's constantly bailing the Ravens out and winning them games. Credit to Lamar Jackson and the Ravens offense for getting that offense downfield. But Justin Tucker is a rare kind of kicker, people. He is consistently clutch. He is always making the long shots. And look, you can really trust him to even make it from 70 yards away, people. So Justin Tucker is clearly right now, and I don't know if this is a hot take to some, but just the way he wins the Ravens games, he is currently right now one of the most valuable players in the NFL, and I wouldn't trade him for anything, people. But let's move on. Takeaway number 4 is the Cowboys have one of the best defenses in the NFL right now. Arguably, maybe the number 1 defense in the NFL. This pass rush with Micah Parsons leading the way. You got DeMarcus Lawrence over there. It is looking incredible right now. And then the secondary is playing better than I expected them to play. They're a top 7 pass defense right now. Although their run defense hasn't been absolutely the best, they still have looked serviceable. And they're right now in the top 3 of the least points allowed in the NFL right now. Cooper Rush is looking good right now, and everybody wants to talk about that. But this defense, to me, has probably been the biggest reason this team has been able to win games so far this year, especially without Dak Prescott. Micah Parsons is definitely looking like a Defensive Player of the Year candidate right now. Trayvon Diggs is actually having a better season than he did last year right now, just in terms of not giving up too many big plays and actually just being consistently good at making plays on the ball, not even just with getting interceptions, but swatting balls away, making sure you don't ever see the receiver that he is guarding, making sure they don't get targets. This secondary is playing better than I expected it to play, and Dan Quinn, you got to give him a lot of credit. He has this defense humming right now, people. I love it. And the Cowboys right now, look, I think their defense will and can take them far. I'm on the Cowboys hype train, and it has a lot to do with this defense, people. Hey, another takeaway. I want to talk about the Jets. They're 3-2 right now. I just want to say that my takeaway about the Jets is that you can't sleep on them, because I believe that they are the real deal. They put up a 40-burger on the Dolphins. This defense looks like it can certainly make plays, and this offense looks explosive, especially this run game with Breece Hall. I love how it's worked right now. I believe Hall is a great receiver and runner. So look, I also believe that Zach Wilson right now looks pretty good with what he has around him. Like I said, this offense is explosive at times. They showed us that with putting up a 40-burger over the Dolphins. Robert Salah, I'm loving what he's doing with that team right now. Garrett Wilson is on it. That defense is making plays. Hey, watch out for the Jets, because this is a team that can play complementary football and can score the football. And when that run game is on too, you just watch out for the Jets, because they are definitely a team that you could look out for as a potential wild card team. So look out for the New York Jets, especially after they put up 40 on the Dolphins. Although they didn't have Tua, I still liked what that offense did. Very explosive. That's my takeaway about the Jets. But now let's get to this next takeaway about Week 5. And the next takeaway is about the Steelers, people. They look like a bottom 5 team in the NFL, right? You know what? No, they are a bottom 5 team in the NFL right now as of Week 5. They took a beating to the Bills, and that is a very good team. But look, they just look terrible. That secondary got absolutely exposed. They even got chopped up a little bit by Zach Wilson last week. They also got chopped up by Jacoby Brissett. So I have no faith in this secondary. Although TJ Watt is gone, there are still holes in that defense, and that starts with the secondary. Play calling right now offensively looks terrible. Very disappointed in Matt Canada. And then offensively, just everything is stagnant. It doesn't look like anything is going for this team right now, especially offensively. The running game can't get going. Najee Harris doesn't look like himself. And look, you could blame that on him. You can also blame that on the offensive line. They're a terrible run blocking and pass blocking offensive line right now. If this run game maybe wasn't as stagnant as it is, maybe they'd be better on offense than they are right now, because maybe one thing is working and it opens up the pass game, but it's not working right now. And this pass game also looks absolutely terrible. Kenny Pickett don't look too good right now. You could blame that on his situation in that offensive line. He just does not look good right now, though. This offense scored 3 points versus the Bills. It looks terrible. These receivers aren't really getting the looks that they would like to have and that they need to have for this offense to succeed. Look, this defense gave up 38 points. Josh Allen torched them. Gabriel Davis torched them. Stephon Diggs torched them. James Cook had a long touchdown on them. This defense looks terrible right now. This offense looks like one of the worst in the league. The Steelers right now just all around look like a mess. Hopefully Mike Tomlin and company can get it together. But to me, after what I saw versus the Bills, versus the Jets, versus the Browns, this team absolutely looks like a bottom 5 team in the NFL, just because everything with them right now is going wrong, people. You heard what I said. The Steelers are a bottom 5 team. Deal with it. Let's get to the next takeaway. And next up, we got to talk about these Giants, because they got a very, very good win over the Packers here. They beat a good team. We've seen them beat the Titans this year too. This team has beat good teams. It is a 4-1 team right now. And when you look at the Giants, their defense isn't one of the best in the league, but it is middle of the pack. In this year, their defense has played some clutch defense, and they absolutely showed out versus the Packers in terms of being clutch on defense. But I have to give a lot of credit to Brian Daboll, because he has this offense doing what it needs to right now to get wins. He's an incredibly creative, smart, really just good decision making at that coaching position right now. With Brian Daboll, this offense looks good right now. Daniel Jones looks composed. Although he is limited, he's making the plays that are right in front of him. And that run game is a large reason why that passing game really is able to do kind of what it is right now. It's not a world beater passing game, but Daniel Jones, although like I said, he is limited in that Packers game, he definitely did take what was in front of him and made plays based off of it. And then Saquon Barkley, who I believe is really the sole reason this team is really good right now, is looking like a top 2, maybe not 2 running back in the league right now. It's up for debate with Nick Chubb, but this Giants team is for real. And that is my takeaway about this Giants team. They are for real, because this defense can make plays, they can get turnovers, they can stop you in crucial moments. This is a well-coached team. Daniel Jones isn't doing too much. He isn't doing maybe all that, but he is making the plays that are in front of him. And Saquon is leading the way, people. The Giants have beat some pretty decent teams. And look, I just believe they are the real deal, people. And that is my takeaway from week 5 for them, with beating the Packers and just with the record that they are at right now. So look, my takeaway for the Giants is that they look like the real deal. They are the real deal. They will be in contention for a wild card spot at the end of this year. All right, next takeaway. Brandon Staley could very well cost the Chargers their season. Look, I watched that Browns game and I saw him go for it on 4th down. It was just a terrible decision. They didn't convert the 4th down. They gave the Browns good field position. They got into field goal range. They just got bailed out by Cade York missing a kick. If he made that kick, I don't know what we'd be talking about Brandon Staley, because that decision was absolutely horrible. Why not kick the punt, pin them deep, instead of taking that big risk? I mean, his decisions sometimes are just bamboozling, because sometimes, especially we saw this last year too, he can be a little too aggressive, especially when he is in his own territory, at least close to his own territory. You got to punt the ball. You got to pin the Browns deep, because if Cade York ended up making that kick, then we'd have a lot more questions about Brandon Staley. And I already have questions even though Cade York did not make the kick. And look, we could go back to that Raiders game where he called a timeout. It's just decision making at the end of these games that worry me about Brandon Staley. He could have very well costed his team the game. He did. He just really didn't pay the price, people. But hey, the Chargers got the win. That's all that matters for them, I guess. But I don't have a ton of faith in Brandon Staley. And everybody, last takeaway is that Taysom Hill is the most versatile player in the NFL. The dude had a ridiculous amount of rushing yards. He threw for a passing touchdown. He rushed for a touchdown. I believe he recovered a fumble. I don't know if he catched passes or not. But look, we've seen it before. But in this Seahawks game, we just saw Taysom Hill like we have never seen him before. The dude was just a versatile box office type of player that we just saw versus the Seahawks. It's incredible. I'm saying it. I don't care what anybody else says. Taysom Hill is the most versatile player in the NFL, and he can do it at a high level, people. There's a difference between having the really ability to do these things, but really just being able to go out there and put up the elite numbers that Taysom Hill just did. The dude can tackle on special teams. You can put him anywhere, but just the work that he did in this game, putting up the numbers that he did, to me, if he's not number one, he's definitely top three, but he is definitely in the conversation for the most versatile player in the NFL, people. But these have been my takeaways from week 5 in the NFL. I'm going to have a lot more to say about week 5 and even more stuff in the NFL tomorrow when I answer your questions on Ultimate Questions, people. Go make sure you submit your question in my community section if you want to get your question on the show. But other than that, this has been Malik Hicks, aka The Ranker of the Ultimate Sports TV, signing off. Peace out, and I'll see you on the other side.